Welcome to Creamer Media's Resources Watch, a weekly video roundup of the events and people making and shaping the news in the mining industry. This week, Toronto-based Inmet could retain 60% of its Panama copper project. Barrick Gold says that gold investment demand has barely scratched the surface. And troubled Aurora inks a R750 million equity deal with a Swiss funder. Inmet could reduce its holding in the large Cobra Panama copper project to around 50 to 60%. Mining Weekly's correspondent in Toronto, Liesl Hill, spoke to CEO Jochen Tilk.
Canadian-based metals miner Inmet Mining, which held its annual shareholders meeting in Toronto on Tuesday, may take on additional partners for its Cobra de Panama copper project. CEO Jochen Tilk told Mining Weekly Online after the meeting that the firm may sell another 20% or so in the project.
We are at 80% right now, with the Koreans at a 20% option. I stated that the funding requirement for the project is $5 billion. Even though Inmet is a company with a strong balance sheet, we do believe that a stake at 80% is really pushing the envelope for us. So there's no question that our intention is to reduce our equity stake to what I think or we think is more reasonable and from a risk perspective. Now that might be 60%, it might be 55%. You know, that some of that would be driven by the opportunity, but it's probably the range 50 to 60 is a range of reasonable anticipation at this point. You know, it's sometimes dynamic and things might change, but that's the indication today. So for that, we certainly look toward another partner in that range, in a difference of 20-odd%.
Growing investment demand for gold, combined with declining mine production levels in the longer term, will continue to support strong prices for the foreseeable future. But Barrick Gold chairperson and founder Peter Monk says that people should just pray that it's not going to go out of control.
But in today's conditions, in today's environment, in today's constant globally spreading insecurity, particularly by those who are wealthy or who have a job in protecting wealth, or are wealth managers, gold cannot go but carry on with its trajectory of the past decade. In every currency, in every country, and let's just pray. Let's just pray. I don't care how many shares of Barrick you have. Let's just pray that it's not going to go out of control. Let's just pray that gold does not jump up to $2,000 and $3,000 and $4,000. You don't want to be living in a country, you don't want to be living in a social structure where the overall lack of confidence in your government would have reached that kind of levels.
Financially troubled gold mining aspirant Aurora Empowerment Systems has signed a R750 million equity capital agreement with Swiss funder Global Emerging Markets, or GEM. Aurora director Michael Hulley explains.
GEM has completed 285 transactions in 60 countries. Under this investment agreement, GEM has committed to subscribe for new shares in the listed entity currently being acquired by Aurora, up to an aggregate subscription value of $725 million. We are at the moment, through the same funding model, in the process of acquiring interim funding that will speak to whatever interim obligations we would have in the intervening period. Mindful that these processes really are sort of back to back, and you cannot accelerate one unless you've finalize the first. We satisfied with the advice that we've received from an operational level that both those mines are in fact viable entities. And each of them represent two totally different challenges. GEM would provide funding to a listed entity. They made that a precondition of their funding. I just want to remind us once more that these are assets in liquidation. The matter comes before court on Friday. We're in negotiations or speaking to the liquidators as to what would be the requisite steps that need to be taken so that we can finalize the transaction. I think we must remind ourselves that that's a preemptive step that needs to be taken, and that we mustn't speak as if the the entire deal has been consummated to the extent that we are now at liberty to do with those assets as we want.
For mining news as it breaks, stay logged on to miningweekly.com and register for our free daily newsletter.